What's up, everybody? Welcome to the State of Wild, episode 65, a regular YouTube video web series podcast thingy. My name is Meowth, and as usual, I'm joined by my two good friends and co-hosts, Roffle and Corbett. How are you guys doing this week?
I'm doing all right. It's been a bit of a weird week. I was fortunate enough to get early access to Mercenaries. I got to test that out. And I had my Twitch earnings for the past 2 years leak, and then I hit Legend today. So a little bit of ups and downs, and just kind of some strangeness happening. So that was my week. How about you, Corb?
Yeah, not quite that weird. I will just say at the very top of the show, like, on that Twitch leak, guys, make sure if you are a Twitch person that you go change your password and do all that kind of stuff. You've probably heard that a million times, but just go do it. It's good. But yeah, I feel weird. We missed the podcast last week for the first time in what feels like
over a year.
Forever.
Over a year.
Yeah, basically since I skipped town one time, I think, right? That's about it.
Oh, that's right. You did miss a weekend during the holidays, and so we did miss one week.
Yeah, maybe
so the
New
first
Year's
time in
or
9
something.
months we have skipped an episode.
Yeah, it's pretty
that
good.
is weird. Yeah.
Yeah. But we forgot how to podcast, but we're going to try and work our way through it today. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you're just going to completely miss the fact that you didn't play any Wild this week at all. And so...
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, speaking of forgetting things, like, I just basically have not touched the Wild format since the season reset. I'm Bronze 10. Good rank, right?
Yeah.
I'm higher than Corb.
We are all higher ranks. We now have superior brains when it comes to the WoW format. You have no authority here.
Yeah.
I was jokingly saying we needed a new podcast co-host because, I mean, how is he going to talk about WoW when he doesn't play Wild? And I'm just saying that offer is still out there. If we can find somebody better than Corb, I'm willing to replace him. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it shouldn't be hard.
It shouldn't be hard to find somebody above Bronze 10. Like,
Exactly.
grab somebody out of Twitch chat. 50% chance they're above that rank.
I mean, speaking of awesome news, I didn't even know you got early access to Mercenaries because you didn't tweet out about it like everybody else did. So, I mean, I know you're not allowed to say anything, but should we be excited about Mercenaries?
Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised. I didn't go in with super high expectations. I was gonna give it a chance. I've talked about it before. I've played those types of games before, and I do enjoy them, and I figured I probably would. I mostly just tested out the PvP because I felt like doing the bounties and like the PvE encounters would be a little bit repetitive if I'm just gonna have to do that again. But there's a little bit more depth to the PvP than I was expecting. And the biggest thing that I learned about it is that I am very bad at it. So I think that there's going to be a bit of a learning curve for people once they pick it up. But I think there is some potential. Regis said the same thing on Twitter just today, I think, that there is some potential as a viewer for the PvP, just because there are some unique decisions being made, kind of like it's been compared to Pokemon battles. So people enjoy watching that, so there's maybe an audience for it. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to the full release because some of the draw of that type of game is the hero collection and just like getting like building up those heroes. So that's the part of the PvE that I was kind of putting off. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. For those of you guys that don't know, Full Mercenaries release coming out on Tuesday, the 12th, so right around the corner. Pretty exciting for those of you guys that are interested in that. I know I'll be checking it out. Maybe not on stream, but I'll be definitely checking it out off stream. Kind of excited to try it out. But yeah, I mean, this isn't a Mercenaries podcast. Let's talk about the WoW format, right? Let's talk about what little there is to talk about. But before we do all of that, we have to do our sellouts. The housekeeping stuff. So first things first, if you guys are enjoying the podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that kind of good stuff, make sure you guys drop a like or subscribe and stuff like that. It's a small thing, but it does actually support us a ton.
Yeah, you can also support the podcast by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/stateofwild, and you'll pick up some sweet perks in the process.
And you can always come join the State of Wild Discord server to talk all things Wild, Hearthstone, or Mercenaries, apparently.
Yeah, we're going to have to make a new Mercenaries tab in the server once the new game mode releases. All right, so let's start off the podcast. Let's talk about kind of just TLDR of the WoW meta. It's been a couple weeks since the whole big ban, nerf, shakeup to the format. I think we can safely say that there are some decks that are ahead of all the rest, right? The cream of the crop when it comes to power level. We're looking at even lock / even arena lock. Maybe we can have a discussion about that, about which one we think is superior. You've got Odd Quest Hunter, you've got Pirate Warrior, and then you've got like your combo decks, right? So the Celestial Druids / Ignite Mages. So those are kind of the cream of the crop. So just kind of open question: how are you guys feeling about the wild meta? Just kind of generally. Like I know me personally, like this is not my favorite meta, but it is definitely better than Seedlock meta. So it's not like I can be too mad or too frustrated about it. So just kind of generally, how you guys feeling?
I'm pretty much in the same spot. Fortunately, like at the rank bands I'm at, I'm not encountering a whole lot of Ignite Mage. I see that as a pretty uniquely frustrating deck. Fortunately, it's not very popular. Aside from that, though, like I don't know. I feel as though I'm in the minority because I don't seem to have as big of a problem with the Quest Warrior, Quest Hunter, and to a lesser extent, even Warlock,
Oh, really?
kind of triad that a lot of people are having. First of all, I don't know how much Evenlock is caught on yet. Like, are people still under the impression that that's not a real deck? Because I don't see it nearly as frequently as I should. Because I think that's maybe ahead of the other two in terms of the decks right now, especially how much it feeds on Pirate Warrior. And like that was the deck I used to go from beginning of the season to Diamond 5, and I won like 12 straight. I had like an above 80% win rate and just cruised in a couple of hours to Diamond 5 with like a 10-star bonus. Like I think a lot of the problem is I think people are still putting weird and bad cards to tech against the metagame, when the best way to tech against the metagame is to make big guy and kill opponent. Like, I was running a really threat dense list. I was talking with Meowth before the pod, but like, I think that tech cards and healing are for cowards, and you just want the opponent to die. Like the goal is play threats, coin a battle master, win the game. Like the game should be ending on turn 5 or turn 6. I don't understand things like Narrowbar, Unraveler. I definitely don't like Dirty Rats or Watch Posts. Watch Posts can't attack. Dirty Rats just stay in your hand, and then like I feel like people playing questline decks are getting smarter and actually thinking about the fact that maybe my opponent has Rat and I shouldn't complete this questline until I can play the reward. So like I don't see those as valid tech guards in this metagame. I see killing the opponent as a good strategy. So I was running Soul Rens, Baron Scavengers, and just all of the 8/8s I could get down by turn 4, and I had a great time with it.
Yeah, that Soul Rend scavenger package isn't something that's very widely seen right now, but it does. I can't help but think that it's worth exploring, because I've really liked Soul Rend as a card, even without the scavenger. Like, that card is so good, because, fatigue isn't really that relevant in that many matchups, right? But yeah, as for, like, the general feeling of the meta, general impressions. So we have, Pirate Warriors around like 15%, Odd Hunters around 15%, and then Even Lock is about 5 to 6, and then Reno Even is like 11. So like in total they're about the same. They're all like 15% apiece. For like Diamond through Legend over the past like week or so. So there are these 3 very dominant decks, and I mean, how am I feeling about the format? I don't like it very much, dude. I don't like this format right now. Like, I'll be honest, there's a reason I haven't been playing Wild this past week. Why I was a bit put off at the end of last season, and why I'm currently playing Standard. Part of that is, I think, just because of, burnout. Like, where this is the part of the expansion cycle where we should be getting mini set cards, and we're not. And so it's very normal, like, that we'd be feeling a little bit drained at this stage. But yeah, I think I like this meta less than I liked the last patch of Seedlock, which might be a bit controversial. I think that last patch, like when Flesh went to 10, I think I enjoyed that meta a bit more than the current one. I really don't like the current format, and yeah, especially decks like Ignite Mage and Pillager Rogue and Alignment Druid as sort of the other things in the format, apart from those big 3. I don't know. It's all a bit draining to me personally.
Okay, first of all, how dare you say you like this better, or you like this less than Seedlock? I genuinely, we're looking for a new co-host. Applications down in the comments.
Like Meowth said, I think that the contrast between this metagame and Seedlock is one of the things that allows me to enjoy it. Like I was not enjoying the game during the Seedlock meta, and like I think the contrast between what we're seeing now, where it's 3 decks that are essentially accounting for what Warlock alone was. And so, like, that's at least some variety. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like objectively, it's much healthier. Like like I can definitely understand why the majority of people would like this a lot more. It's just I don't happen to enjoy the specific decks that are kind of being like played right now, right? Even though I can say, it's much more diverse and you can do a lot more things and it's much more opened up in terms of like the game length and that cap that we've been talking about. It's all been relieved a bit, but these specific decks that are being played, not my cup of tea.
No, I completely understand that. Like everybody has their favorite metas, right? I mean, I will just say, while I like this better than Seedlock, I did mention that this was like not my favorite meta. It's very, I feel like, polarized towards tech cards right now, right? Because there's so much, like, there's Odd Hunter, and one of the like main ways that a lot of these decks are trying to counter Odd Hunter is through stuff like Grizzle Wizard and Finley, or just like Mind Breakers and stuff like that, or Unravelers and Cult Neophytes. And we're running a whole bunch of tech cards. Whether that's right or not, I don't know, but it does feel like there's a lot of those going around. And tech card metas, or metas where people feel compelled to run a lot of tech cards, have never really felt very good, just kind of overall. But I will say, compared to Seedlock, I have very much enjoyed. Actually, I've had multiple games, like, actually go to Fatigue where all 30 cards mattered, and I had to, like, consciously think to myself to not tap as the even lock, right? Because it matters. And so I'm enjoying it much more. But I was talking about this to my Twitch chat. I kind of missed Forged in the Barrens. Like I'm really I was looking at United and Stormwind, and I'm not happy with a lot of the things that United and Stormwind kind of introduced to the WoW metagame. Like, I personally would rather just go back to like Forged in the Barrens, even though that was like I don't know, the same meta that we had for like 6 months. I like that meta better than we had now.
I think it's when you're in the midst of something that's like maybe not your favorite, it's easy to look back and say, well, it was better then. But like that, like you said, that had its own problems that like we complained about during that. So there is no perfect metagame. I don't like aspects of this metagame either. But I don't know. Like there's going to be new cards coming. I don't think that people will
soon
look back on United and Stormwind fondly. But at the same time, people are doing the same thing with Journey to Angora right now in Knights of the Frozen Throne, and those were despised metagames when they were first released, and people look back on them fondly. So I don't know. Looking back is a lot easier to appreciate the good things, it seems like, for some of the community, when like Quest Rogue was a thing that just haunted people for a long time in Journey to Angora, and Druid was appalling in Knights of the Frozen Throne, and people just like, yeah, those are my favorite expansions. They're great times in Hearthstone history. It's like, do you remember what actually happened then? So I don't think that I think that there was with Seedlock especially, there was enough negative sentiment towards United and Stormwind that won't be the case. But like I would have expected the same thing for those two sets, and like I said, now they're being looked on fondly. So I just hope that new cards come and shake things up a little bit. But it's hard to see how that can be the case when a mini set is a fairly small number of cards, and when things have changed so dramatically with United and Stormwind, because it was a extraordinarily high power level set. But at the same time, like, it wasn't that long ago when we couldn't envision a world where Secret Mage wasn't a top tier deck. So
yeah, I mean, two things there. First of all, I miss Secret Mage. I just want that on the record. I miss that deck.
I take a sigh of relief when I queue into a Secret Mage these days. Like,
it's crazy, right? It's crazy. I will say, I think you're 100% correct, and like, thanks for pointing it out about like everybody looks back at the past expansions with like rose tinted goggles. Like, they forget the parts that they don't want to remember, and they're just like, but Frozen Throne brought about Cube, right? And I love Cube. Or no, Frozen Throne was Death Knights.
Druid.
Gold in the Catacombs was Cubes, right?
Yeah.
No, it was just Druid was Frozen Throne.
Yeah,
literally just Druid.
In Standard, at least.
In Wild.
I mean, Fine Mana Spreading Plague did kind of... Anyways. Exactly the point, though, right? Like, I do totally recognize that, and I'm sure there are people out there that do enjoy the format. right now as it is. But I will also say, I was convinced by Corbett. I did check out some standard, and it does feel like right now, because United and Stormwind was such a high power level set, it kind of feels like right now standard is like what Wild was like a year ago, maybe like a year and a half ago. Like pretty high power level. There's aggressive decks, there's mid range decks, there's control decks, there's combo decks that are all powerful, and like I don't know. I've been having a lot of fun. Like I've only been playing standard for 2 days, and I've been like it's felt very refreshing, especially since that mini set's not coming for like what we think is another month. So yeah.
I will say I enjoy watching standard. I watch the GMs, but anytime I play it, I just like why do I have so few cards to work with? I can't build a deck with this. So it's I don't like the lack of variety. Anytime I try and play it, it's and that's something that even in our imperfect metagame right now, we do have a fair amount of variety compared to standard, just because they're, you queue into a deck and it, if it's Hunter, it's probably questline. If it's Warrior, it's probably questline. If it's Warlock, you start to question what it might be. Even then, it could be an Even Hunter. Somebody hit rank 1 with Even Hunter recently. Other decks, there's kind of this uncertainty when you queue into it what it could possibly be, and I don't know. I enjoy that. I overvalue probably variety, and I think that's what draws me to the Wild format, and that's still, I think we have a bit of that.
Well, I will say, I think one last thing, and I'll let actually Corbett say some words, because I feel like he hasn't talked in like a million years. But
hey, I'm good.
I will say, I think the main reason that I'm not enjoying this format is because the part of Wild that's always appealed to me was like taking those like tier 4, tier 5 decks, right, and like making them as good as they can so that they can beat those tier 1 decks, right? And for the past 3 or 4 years, I've been able to hold positive win rates with kind of jank, right? Like what you would suppose is jank, like these tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 decks. But nowadays, it feels like when I queue up one of those tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 decks, and I queue into a Questline Hunter or a Pirate Warrior or a Even Lock, I have like very little chance to win those games. And it really feels like, while you used to have if you played really, really well and you built your deck really, really well, you could have a 50% win rate. I'm not expecting to have positive win rates with these janks, but they kind of feel like hopeless, which is kind of where my attraction towards the format, I can feel it waning, because like the thing that I enjoy doing the most, I can't do anymore.
I will counter that with the fact that I had a positive win rate today with Shuffle Demon Hunter with Elise Starseeker as my win condition with both Elix in my deck. So like, I mean, the possibility is still there. It's not, it's not easy. You don't have the time to set up that kind of nonsense that you used to when Reno decks were more popular. But I also capped the curve out at 4 mana, and like that was just my deck, because I'm aware of the world I'm living in. So I agree with you, but I wouldn't say that it's impossible. I think you just need to kind of adjust.
No, I totally don't think that it's impossible. It's just, it's a lot harder to do. And like this month, I tried to hit Legend with like Garrote Rogue, like a wild version of that, using Kingsbane. Like it's NHL's list, essentially, with like, and it just felt like every time I queued on a Hunter or Pirate Warrior, that matchup was like, I had a 25-30% chance to win that, even if I like played really, really well. And it kind of it feels like that with a lot of decks, which is the frustrating part for me personally. Like, what I enjoy doing the format, it's kind of hard to do. But I mean, at this point, I'm just complaining, and and I think people kind of understand where the WoW meta is right now. And I think Roffle and I will at least agree that it is better than Seedlock meta, even though Corbett, God, I'm surprised you went back to this after people yelled at you in the comments last time for saying that you like didn't agree with the Seedlock ban and you didn't want to see that happen. I'm surprised you went back to that idea.
Are we changing history? Did they really say that? Hang on. I need to go back and check this. I don't know. I'll be honest. I'm not afraid to give the controversial opinion meowth. I'll always say what's on my mind.
Yeah.
No matter how much Blizzard tries to shill me and make sure that I never complain about the game. Right?
Yeah. All right. And so now for the second part of today's episode, we're going to do something a little bit fun. So we've got a couple of pretty exciting episodes coming in the next couple of weeks. And so we're not really going to have time before the mini set to do this, so we kind of wanted to take some time to do this now and look back at our predictions for United and Stormwind and kind of review our reviews about United and Stormwind. So instead of going through every single card and just talking about whether we were right or wrong, we're going to kind of go back to kind of our overall predictions that we made, what we thought were going to be the most powerful cards, what we thought were going to be, our favorite cards, and just talk about how right or wrong we were, and also talk about some really big misses that we had as well. We totally
sound like us.
We totally did.
I mean, that's the fun part, right? Like, it's not about talking about what you got right. It's all about, hey, where did you really get stuff wrong?
Yeah. So we should talk about what we got wrong first, right? So that when we come back, we can end the show with what we got right, and then pretend like we were smart all along, because that's all people are going to remember.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah? All right.
Perfect.
No, I'm just kidding. All right, so let's start off with what we thought the most powerful cards from United in Stormwind were going to be. So, Roffle, you want to go first?
Sure. My fifth most powerful card was Dark Bishop Benedictus, which I think I was a little bit higher on the aggro versions than the two of you were, just because like I had been trying to pump that the Death Rattle version of the archetype over previous expansions. That's really where I thought the deck was going to go, and I was wrong on that, but I was very right about the existence of like Dark Bishop making aggro like a legitimate deck. It probably preyed on Seedlock quite a bit, which inflated its power level, but it's still like probably a relevant deck even without the Elucia, just not nearly like on the level of some of those other archetypes that we talked about earlier. So could see a resurgence, because I could see like Mind Blast beating down Even Luck, especially if I get people to cut healing. At number 4, I had a combination of Rustrot, Viper, and Royal Librarian. These are the tradable tech cards, and I think that outside with it, we're in a tech metagame, but like not for silence or weapon removal. So like these cards are still seeing play just because tradable good, like it's being used as a cycle mechanic, but so I think I missed the mark in terms of which tradable cards are seeing play, but there are certainly some. And if we ever do return to a world where silencing minions, probably not, but maybe weapon removal becomes relevant if Kingsbane starts propping up, I could see Restaurant Viper being a valid inclusion. So kind of a mid level card for both of those. I wouldn't call that a hit. Definitely not one of the most powerful cards of the set. Next up, though, is Moarg Forge Fiend, which I will say is one of the more powerful cards of the set. It's, in some lists, replace Enhanced Dreadlord for like your Reno Lock demon package. It's good in even Reno Lock when you're more limited for those demons, and just like a good big body to drop at times in classes where armor gain isn't typically allowed. So like pretty good card. I was actually playing it in Taunt Druid recently to give myself a demon for New Zoth, and it was all right. Number 2, I had Garrote, or Garrot, however you want to say it. And yeah, this is a fantastic card in Standard. Hasn't really caught on in Wild, where I was imagining seeing it play as a hyper aggro, like Scimitar rogue, where that deck just churns through its deck so quickly that you just play the Garrot and like accidentally draw the bleeds, and you're just like, okay, well, you're dead now. And I actually had a reasonable amount of success with that deck. I hit Legend with it like towards the end of the season last month, and it was pretty good. But like it's, Garrot wasn't the card that was carrying by any means. So it's I think it's just like, the 29th and 30th card in that deck. So I don't think it's anything special. Although like there is an entire standard archetype, so there's some potential for that card in the future. And then my number 1 powerful card was Fire Sale. Yeah. This is clearly been the oppressive thing that Mage does. None of the other fire spells matter. It's fire sail, and don't let anyone tell you anything different. Yeah, big whiff on this one. Like it has, I think it's popped up a few times in like non-Pocket Galaxy Reno mages, which is probably the way to build it now. But it's like nobody plays for board anymore. So like, yeah, you clear a captain board against Pirate Warrior, but they've got the Ankar equipped, so they just refill next turn and win anyway, or they just like drop the Rokara and the Juggernaut kills you. So, good job clearing. Good waste of 4 mana, idiot. Like this card isn't really suited for the current metagame. So I kind of botched that one.
I don't think it's as bad as Deck of Chaos, but it is. It's kind of close, It's in that second tier.
Oh, come on. Don't even. It's not even close. What are we talking about?
Yeah, don't be...
I
just really want to get off this Deck of Chaos shame.
No.
I gotta share it.
No, you brought it up, and you're wrong. Because, at worst, this is just 1 mana cycle a card, so it's nowhere near 5 mana pass, or 6 mana pass at the time.
I mean, it's a really good card. It's a really good card in Standard. It has no home at all right now in Wild, and this doesn't make any sense right now. So
I think that there's some potential for it later, but I don't think that we're unless we get back to some form of board-based decks, it's not going to be even odd decks don't appear to be coming back for a period of time.
Yeah. And I haven't looked too closely at the other predictions, so I don't know how to grade you on this Roffle. About how you overall did in your top 5.
I will accept a rating of nothing other than 6 out of 9.
Perfect.
Nice. I mean, I will say Garrote is a standard defining thing, but I also I was playing NHL's list, and it feels like it could be a thing. It's a worse Pillager Rogue, but if you want to play Garrote Rogue and Wild, it's a consistent turn 8 kill. You can do it. Is it worse than Pillager? Yes. But
was it rated on the assumption that it would work with spell damage? That's whole
another thing.
Right?
Okay, it wasn't. I'm pretty sure. Because he said he was doing it in aggro decks, but also I'm pretty sure that interaction was unintentional. But they kept it because it made a competitive deck, and they didn't want to go back and fix it. I know that there were some devs talking about how
I was that's cool.
Yeah.
It was really confusing. Where I think Gallon initially had said in the first week or two, he's like, "Oh, that's a bug. We'll fix that." And someone else came along and said, "No, intended." It was okay.
Are you sure?
They're just kind of rolling with it. Now it's really weird because it's the Arcanist, the 2 mana minion. Your next spell has +2 spell damage. Now that works with the bleeds as well, which is just even more confusing. So I don't know how we ended up here.
So when I worked for a software development company, there's a meme that often got shared where it was a cockroach, a bug, and it was just the left-hand side was bug, and it was labeled bug. To the right, there was a bug dressed up in a suit, and it was feature. So that's pretty much what the spell damage Garrote is.
We can make comparisons after all 3 of us have gone through our predictions and say who had the best, who was the smartest. All right, Corbett, you want to go next?
Oh, absolutely. Let's start off with number 5, Aimed Shot. So the Hunter spell, we're all familiar with it, I think, at this point, if you've been playing any amount of Wild or Standard. So Aimed Shot at number 5. Then we had Harbor Scamp, the 2 mana 2/2 pirate, at number 4. Alliance Banana Man is apparently what we're calling it based on what I've heard from the GM casting. Yes, Alliance Banana Man, the 3 mana 2/2 paladin hand buffing card. At number 2, Touch of the Nathrazin. And my number 1 most powerful card in all of Stormwind is, of course, Prismatic Jewel Kit.
You were doing so well until you got to your number 1. I think you were doing so well.
I was clutching it. Oh my god, I was nailing that for the first one. And then, then we got to the Jewel Kit. Bit regretful on that one. I mean, it's kind of nutty where it started off kind of looking very promising, I think, for Jewel Kit, at least in Standard, but it got cut so fast in Wild. People just abandoned that whole Divine Shield package immediately. And so, it never really took off. And even now, there's a bit of hand buff buzz. People are playing a whole bunch of, rebukes and weird stuff, to beat up Hunter, and there's not a Jewel Kit to be seen.
Yeah. God, the rebuke Robes of Protection Cobalt Monk package
Yeah,
in
that's the
Handbuff
hand
Paladin.
buff.
Yeah, it's gross. That's all I gotta
Yeah, I
say.
mean, Roffle, if you're not happy about tech cards, you don't want to see this list.
Oh no, I've played a similar list in Druid with guild recruiters and Oaken summons, and it's hilarious.
Good lord.
That's gross. That's also gross. Yeah. Oh god. No, but I mean, can we talk real quick? I feel like we missed on a lot of Warlock cards, and we'll touch on that later. But like Touch of the Nathrezim, I'm very surprised that like it hasn't gotten nerfed because of standard. Like that card is insane. Like that's so good.
It was probably very close. Like, it was probably one of the cards they looked at.
One of the times that they nerfed Flesh Giant, I think the second time, I was expecting it to be touch. So yeah, like that was kind of. I'm in agreement. I'm surprised that card is like it just does. It has too many numbers on it for 1 mana, right? Like that's outrageous. How much it heals for, how much damage it does. Like
It is
that
pretty
card's
gross.
not there.
Yeah. I also like I know Handbook Paladin has also kind of disappeared outside of like the resurgence of tech buff, but like man, I can't wait for a rotation where we get like Conviction and Hand of a Doll and all of these cards unnerfed and like actually see the full power of Handbook Paladin again and see if it can compete with stuff like God Hunter.
We do not need Conviction back, first of all.
Yeah, first of all, that's true. I don't really think about too much about like what we're eventually gonna get
I
because
know.
it's like so far away, and who knows what turn 2 OTKs we're gonna have in Wild by that point.
And we all expected like Mogu to get unnerfed, and that never happened too. So I think we need to like not expect that just because something was nerfed that it will be unnerfed when it rotates. I think that
Why
for
am I the
example,
optimistic one this week? What's going on?
I think that for example, Conviction is a card that never should have been printed at 1 mana, so we can leave it at 2 mana, and that's okay.
I am hopeful that like when they nerf 6 Paladin cards, we will get those Paladin cards back, and I am totally not greedy, and I want it back for Libran Paladin. I know it'll buff these other 2 Paladin decks, but also like I didn't hate playing as Handbuff Paladin. I think it was a cool deck.
Yeah. No, I'm okay with some of the other cards coming back. Conviction, no. We don't need 1 mana fireballs.
I think we do. But anyways, let's move on to my top 5 most powerful, and I don't really want to talk about these, but I guess I'll have to. My number 5, I also had Benedictus. Like Roffle, I think I was on that Death Rattle package. I know I was playing like Leper Gnome, Cobalt Sand Trooper, the Shaded Spirit guy, the 3 mana 4/3 deal 3 Death Rattle. I was on that package until we realized how good the other cards were. But yeah, I mean, Aggro Priest obviously was a very solid deck. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, Benedict's I think was very good. I also had Forge Fiend at number 4. Number 3, I had First Flame. I was excited for First Flame and stuff like Reno Mage, but obviously like First Flame seeing play in a lot of other decks as well. Because what the hell is a Reno Mage? Alliance Bannerman at number 2. Obviously Handbuff Paladin. And then my number 1 card, I had Entitled Customer. So when I made this prediction, I was under the assumption that Dark Glare was still going to be the top deck in the format, and being able to answer a board full of Giants and Lothep with a minion felt really, really powerful to me. So obviously that wasn't the meta that we saw for the first couple months of United and Stormwind, but I do still think like now we are seeing the power of Entitled Customer now that even Renalock is a pretty popular deck. That all being said, I don't think it is my top most powerful card from the set looking back, but I do think Entitled Customer was fine. So I don't think any of these were wrong per se. They weren't Fire Sale or Prismatic Jewel Kit, but none of them I think were the top 5 most powerful cards in the set. So I mean, if we had to make comparisons, do we like you guys got more things that were more powerful, but you guys also had some clunkers, right? Do I get credit for not having any clunkers?
Oh no, I think you did much better than me. Like we both tunneled in on clearing the board for whatever reason, when that's not a reality that exists right now. But like I will gladly and proudly, not proudly, shamefully take this L, because I think that I had the biggest miss when it comes to these cards. But like aside from his top pick, I think Corb hit it pretty well. Like you both had the Banana Man, so that's kind of net neutral. I think he maybe got the 1 mana spell. I will be the objective reporter here. I think it's close. I don't know that Aim Shot is the card that's carrying Odd Hunter. So I don't know. Like it's a neck and neck race between the two of you. You can sort it out. Just do an arm
Well,
wrestle.
we just let the listeners decide then.
Yeah.
There you go.
We'll put a poll down in the comments on YouTube or something, and you guys are gonna have to go vote and tell us who got it right.
Yeah.
For what it's worth,
Don't
I did
vote
have
for
like
me.
Harbor Scamp in my honorable mentions, so I know Corbett had it on his top 5. I had it in my honorable mentions.
Yeah, but you also had Cornelius
Shut
Rome
up.
in
No,
your honorable
why did you read the rest of it,
mentions.
alright?
You can't do
You don't want to
that.
put attention. You don't want to bring attention to those, Mia.
Ah, fuck, I messed up. Fine, fair enough. All right, speaking of Cornelius Rome, I mean, we can move on to the top 5 cards that we were the most excited for. And since we're already talking about Cornelius, I guess I'll go first. So for me, my top 5 favorite cards. And for number 5, I had Peasant. I was super excited about this one drop, and I actually think that low key, I was right about this. I think it's a pretty powerful card. I think people are realizing the power of this card in stuff like Odd Demon Hunter and Odd Rogue. I know somebody hit, I believe it was Wander, hit rank 2 EU with Odd Rogue running Peasants pretty good. And it's also seeing play in aggro druids. I know none of these are like top tier decks, but it's seeing play in those decks, and it's pretty good in those decks. And it's also pretty good in Q logs. So I really like the Peasant. That was like my sleeper pick. I know, like Corbett, you had freaking what was the last
Post.
expansion? Yeah.
Hashtag post up.
Hashtag
Yep.
post up as like your sleeper pick. I think Peasant was my sleeper pick, and I'm pretty happy about how that turned out. It was no watch post, but it was
Well,
pretty
nothing
good.
is really.
Yeah, fair enough. I missed post. For number 4, I had Boldner, so this was like the Shaman Bran, the 2-mana Bran. Obviously, slow Shaman decks didn't exist for the first 2 months of Stormwind. But, like, I've seen a lot of Reno Shamans kind of come back out of the woodworks now that Seedlock is unnerfed. Queued into a fair amount of those, and they're all running Boldner for some reason. I think this was a clunker, but he was pretty fun to play with, so I think that still counts. I had Dark Bishop Benedictus as one of my favorites. Obviously, we talked about Priest. Yeah, so I had Raza Hunter as my second favorite card to play. I was under the impression that it was going to be a fun deck, but not a very good deck. So, you know, unique Hunter archetypes, I'm still going to take that as a dub. But then I also had Cornelius Rome as my favorite card from this set. I was so excited to play Cornelius Rome. When I was theory crafting, I shoved Cornelius Rome in like every sort of mid-rangey tempo deck just because I was like, card draw for mid-range decks. Card draw is what they need. Shove Cornelius Rome in everything. That.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, you don't have to explain.
I've been trying to force him to work. I've been putting him in like Libra and Paladin and stuff. Like, he's not good. I really want him to be, but he's not good. So, but yeah, I was pretty excited with all the other stuff. Just not Cornelius.
This is your for fun list, Meowth. You don't have to justify this. This is all,
Well,
let you enjoy.
You know what's
Yeah,
not very fun,
well,
though? Cards that suck. Cards that
Well-
suck are not very fun.
What I learned from this is that famous Wild Hearthstone streamer Get Me Out thinks that Defend the Dwarven District is a really fun deck.
Yeah,
Can confirm.
I think we're all gonna be talking about that. I think.
Oh god, I just read my list.
Yeah, I read mine as well.
So do you guys want to share your favorites, too? Come on.
Nope.
Okay, I'll go ahead then. At number 5, we have Elwyn Boar, which I never actually have played a single game of Ball Priest, so that didn't turn out great. After all the hype, I mean, I was very happy about it just because of the South Park reference as much as anything, and so sure, but I just never got around to boring people. The Warlock meta that developed and then everything else just sort of made me so bleh. Like I didn't want to win 25% of the time. Like that seems like a rough. I don't know, dude. That seems like a rough experience. Next up at number 4, I had Lady Presta. Again, a card that I never really experimented with too much. Like, it wasn't really. I did see a pretty fun, like, cute version of it where you play it with a whole bunch of, like, 0-cost cards and you do some fancy stuff, but never really saw much experimentation with that. Never tried it much. Honestly, half the times I'm going to say, like, add a favorite card. If it wasn't good, Roffle's probably tried it instead. So we'll get to that.
I will say that with Lady Prestor, I have gotten infinite hero powers into Koldara Drake with both Demon Hunter and Even Hunter.
Well, there you go.
How the hell do you
Ruffle's
do
got
it
me
in Even
covered.
Hunter?
You play the 2-mana card that reduces your hero power.
Oh
You
yeah,
hold
yeah, yeah,
one.
yeah.
You hold the Fellfire, and then you
Uh-huh.
play you play the Prestor, and then get lucky, and then you get infinite damage. It's simple.
It's simple. Yeah,
Simple.
totally chill. Yeah. At number 3, I had Benedictus, which I actually loved. Like, I loved Shadow Priest, and I still do. It's my favorite decks right now in Wild. At number 2, we had Hot Streak, which I had fun abusing in APM Mage style decks, but I've come very much to regret with the Ignite Mage shenanigans going on right now. I may have flown a little too close to the sun on that one. And my number 1 favorite card, wow, what a shocker. It is Defend the Dwarven District. Meowth, how could you drag me down with you and force me to list this as my favorite card as an Odd Hunter Defender?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I love Hunter. As you guys know, I've been talking about how amazing Hunter has been for the past 4 years, and you guys know I love that class, and so I had to make you guys feel the same way.
I feel betrayed by the both of you.
Yeah. I mean, who would possibly do that, Roffle?
I know.
Anyway, let's hear your top 5.
Sure. At number 5, I had Jace Darkweaver because he's a mini Yogg, and he's been seeing a lot of play in Standard. In Wild, there's just not enough fun stuff that you can do because he costs 8 mana and you don't have a lot of fell spells, so it's kind of a bummer. That was a pick that I knew was gonna kind of be a dud, but for the future, I'm forward thinking.
Yeah.
My number 4 pick, I actually skipped. I left it blank. I didn't pick a fourth favorite. That's weird. So number 3, I had Maestra of the Masquerade, which the whole purpose of this was to do a neutral Renounce deck with Wormrest Purifier. Fantastic. It was one of the most fun decks I played this expansion. I actually did that in the Seedlock metagame, but I did it early enough before people caught on, and it was hilarious. The other thing that I like doing is just shoving this into any rogue deck. I played it in Mill Rogue for some reason, and I just scream at my opponents and laugh at them for thinking that I was a class other than Rogue, and that's my favorite thing to do for whatever reason. At number 4, I actually did have Defend the Dwarven District because I'm a monster. At number 2, I had Dark Bishop Benedictus because I just like Benedictus. One of my favorite things that I've done with him so far is I actually played him in a Thief Priest alongside regular Benedictus, so I had double Benny, which was twice as much fun, and it was kind of pointless.
Question.
But yes.
Was Shadow Benny actually active?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what's the point? A lot of the Thought Steal, a lot of the Thief Priest cards are actually Shadow Priest anyway, or Shadow spells anyway, so I wasn't losing much. Palm Reading is just good. And then at number... Where was I? I can't count that high. Number 1, I had Elwyn Boar, and that was the very first deck that I played of the expansion. I had a whole lot of fun, and I have never played an Elwyn Boar since then. Actually, no, that's not true. I tried desperately to make it work in Rogue, and it was a miserable experience, and I stopped trying in other classes since then. So maybe,
Sounds about
yeah, a lot of
like gang ups and
bounce
stuff.
Yeah, gang ups.
Oh, okay.
Lab recruiters and even potion of illusions and that kind of thing. So the thing about Rogue is that you die.
You know,
yeah.
You know the best part about this? I'm very happy Elwyn Boar wasn't like a very wide popular card because I still haven't seen that episode, so people don't ask me about the reference. Still haven't watched it. Still good. I was totally gonna play along with you, like if you just skip number 4.
Yeah, me too. I was gonna say the thing.
No, I couldn't lie to the viewers like that or the listeners.
Yeah. I would have exposed you with an image for the YouTube video, but I wasn't gonna expose you to the podcast listeners. I wasn't gonna do
Okay.
that. Let's go ahead and talk about like the decks we were excited to try as well, because I think they were kind of linked in with some of our favorite cards, as well. And I'll go last because I know we're gonna have something to say about my favorite decks. But Corbett, you want to go first?
Sure. I apparently, which I don't remember this, I had Quest Hunter, Bubble Paladin and Quest Mage. I think I remember really struggling to sort of come up with decks that I was excited about, because even though I know that I always underestimate the sets for Wild, it doesn't change that I can't, like, I still can't spot what I actually think is going to be good and what I'm excited to play, you know? Like, I know that I'm going to underestimate things, and then I can't help it. And so the Quest Hunter, though, that I had in mind was, like, Buzzard, and that kind of just never worked out. Like, that's kind of what I had in mind when I had as my number one favorite deck. I wanted to play Buzzards and have this, like, crazy win condition, but no, instead we're playing Baku. But no, I had a lot of fun with Quest Mage, for sure, with the Molten Reflection and the Hot Streak. I played a ton of that deck in the first few weeks. So, yeah.
Gross.
I don't know. I'm looking at my list right now, and it's pretty devastating. My number one decks to try was Aggro Shadow Priest, which everybody loved.
Mm-hmm.
Real off-meta jank that ended up being. Next up, I will say that I did qualify this. It was Raza Hunter, but it specifically says Raza Token Hunter. I think we were all tunneled in on like the quest as a means to play Kolkora, Prack Runner, and Star Irvian Buzzard together, because we all had talked about how much fun the interaction was, and it was like the hero powering was just a thing that you did as an afterthought to drawing a bunch of cards off a Buzzard, and like that we were just on the Buzzard copium. Like there was it even like weeks after the expansion release, none of us wanted to believe that Odd Hunter was a real deck and that you wanted to run the Dragonbane with that draw package, and we were just wrong. Unfortunately. My third deck, very excited to try this one, was Ignite Mage. I thought this was going to be a worse version of Mozaki Mage. And it was a worse version, but not for the person playing it, for the opponent, because it gets online much faster. We didn't have builds of this until very recently that were like, well thought out. I think that I was of the mindset that the Chandler was too slow, and that this was going to be a Luna draw engine, and I was very wrong about that, just like I was wrong about the Buzzard. And we're worse off for it because you don't have to empty your deck now. You just kind of play all of your cards on turn 5 and win the game, or all of your ignites on turn 5 and win the game. Yeah. Honorable mention was Board Priest, which was a lot of fun, and I should probably play again sometime.
I will say, I love how you are known for playing all this off-meta jank and the fun combos, and the 3 decks that you were the most excited to play were like 3 really oppressive meta decks in Shadow Priest, Quest Hunter, and Ignite Mage. It's hilarious.
Got an eye for it.
I thought they were going to be garbage.
Don't say that. Just take credit, Roffle. You just you're spotting weeks ahead of the meta. That's it.
Raffle's just big brain, dude. Come on.
I will say that months, several expansions before Watch Posts were even released, I had a Tax Paladin video that was it was just like a dumb thing that I did. I saw the future, and it's really what it comes down to.
All right, so Raffle, what's the next big meta breaker in 5 months? What is it now?
Well, I've been saying for a while that the next expansion is going to be Alterac Valley, and I stand by that, but that's only because of what they've teased so far, and it's because it's a logical assumption based on the battle between the Horde and Alliance. So that's the future for you.
All right, bookmark this. Was it Remind Me? That's the Reddit command, right?
Yeah.
Remind me in 2 months.
Yeah, I also predicted the Mercenaries would become hero cards, so that's my other bold prediction. Let's see if I go 2 for 2.
Yeah, I think that one has been soft confirmed, but we'll wait. Yeah,
I said that at the beginning.
You
of
did.
Last
That was a long. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's fair. You did say that. We'll give you credit for that. All right, so you're 1 out of 2. If you're 2 out of 2, I don't even know. You're freaking fortune teller over here. All right, let's my 3 decks to try. So I also had Raza Hunter. I specifically remember. I'm gonna go find the audio to include here on the video potentially, just to prove that I said this. But I was I don't think this deck is gonna be good, but it's gonna be fun to play a Jank Hunter deck. So
you were wrong on both accounts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wrong on both accounts. It's just gonna be a worse Raza Priest, but it'll be fun to play because it's Hunter, right? It'll be bad. Oh god. But then my like second set of decks were actually ones that I'm like actually still very excited to play. These like Even Lock and Even Reno Lock were my decks. Kind of the meld of the two, just because like I knew we were getting a bunch of cards for those archetypes, and I was really excited to play them in Warlock, just because like Even Lock and Reno Even Lock have been some of my favorite archetypes for a long time. And so I will say this one meta, like the one deck that I am really enjoying playing is Reno Even Lock or Even Reno Lock, whatever you want to call it. And I think this is the first time in almost a year where I have like enjoyed playing the tier 1 deck. So it's a little bit awesome, but also everybody's trying to hate on the deck. So we'll go that. And then just like Roffle, I'm like mysteriously missing this third option here, just like he was missing in his like top 5 favorite cards. So I didn't have a third deck to try, but Raza Hunter and Even Lock, spot on. Those were fun decks to play.
The show notes say something about Pirate Warrior, Meowth.
Pirate Warrior. I was super excited to play Pirate Warrior because the quest totally saw that was going to see play in that deck.
With the Zephyrus, it looks like.
Whoa, where did that come from? What?
And a Reno.
I mean, that's just after you draw through your deck with Ankar, right? He couldn't possibly have thought that like a
Highlander,
like an intentional Reno Pirate Warrior deck would be good. That would be silly.
Yeah, I'm not that dumb, guys. Come on.
We would have shut that down immediately and laughed at it.
Of course.
You would have.
Yeah,
but you didn't do it because I didn't say that. So, yeah.
I am looking at this list, though, and I'm looking at these decks, and I see the words, like Aggro Shadow Priest, Ignite Mage, so much Raza Hunter, Even Lock. Are we the baddies? Are we the bad guys?
Are we the problem? Are we the people that we hate? Yeah, I think so. I will... No. I did not expect these to be good, so I can't be blamed for the fact that they are good. I didn't make the cards. I didn't even build the good decks, so you cannot blame me for these existing.
But Roffle, you know how influential we are. Our voices decide everything that goes on in the WoW format. And so when we said that these were the decks that we were excited to try, obviously this is what people are going to be playing. So this is our fault. Sorry, guys.
No. I refuse to take any responsibility for this because I had nothing to do with it.
I think we had everything to do with it. All right, so that was kind of our review of our reviews. And I think if you guys are listening at home, I think you will see that we have dodged a very, very important part of United and Stormwind when looking at our card reviews. So we talked a lot about what we predicted, what we were excited to see. I think it's time to talk about some of the big misses that we had. Cards that we just like didn't foresee being as powerful as they were, right? And I think we have to start with the very obvious one. We got to talk about the Demon Seed, only the second card to be banned in Wild's history, and I don't see it on our top 5 most powerful, top 5 favorite. I don't even remember what we were like talking about when we reviewed the card. This doesn't go in Dark Lair. Why would we play this card?
We might have skipped it. I think, like we just said, it's not even worth looking at.
No, I think we talked about it just to talk about how wrong people were about being worried about it.
But we really doubled down then. We really went for it.
Here's the thing, though. I don't see the Demon Seed being played anymore. So is it really that good of a card?
True. It's not seeing any play, right? So we were right. Yeah.
I think the reality is that we tunneled in on what Dark Lair was and didn't think about what like the seed block on its own could be. And that's really like we were too fixated on the Dark Lair shell. And I think maybe rightfully said Dark Lair as we know it now doesn't want this card. But we didn't think about what it could be like outside of Dark Lair with like just Dark Lair as an enabler for seed block rather than like the other way around. We were thinking of Demon Seed as an enabler for Dark Glare when the reality was that like the card was its own win condition.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that the big thing that was missed was just how easy this quest was to complete and how inevitable it was as soon as you got to like play the reward. The fact that you could actively play the reward out on turn 5 and it flipped matchups like Reno Priest into being what were very close matchups previously for a deck like Dark Glare into very, very oppressive matchups that were basically nigh on like unwinnable for the Reno Priest, right? Because as soon as that Tanza comes down, like it doesn't matter what board clears they have or anything, they're just going to be dying essentially from hand, like with all the reach that they get off Crystallizer. And so yeah, it was just a complete narrowing in of picturing the mirror and seeing, like, oh, if I start with one less card in hand, then it makes it so much worse. But you also miss out on things like the Dark Lair, sorry, not the Dark Lair, but the Flesh Giant discounts, the eventually the Happy Ghoul synergy that ended up popping up here and there. Like, it just kind of went in a little bit of a different direction, and it was a total whiff. Like, I was very, very sure that Dark Lair Warlock with Giants would not play this. And I was very, very, very wrong. Not even to mention the fatigue list that eventually popped up.
Yeah, I do remember, like, when we were doing theory crafting stuff, I was like, oh, we could do some sort of, like, turbo fatigue thing, but this is not going to be, like, a viable win con, right? It's going to be a nice meme deck that you can play, like, I think my initial list had Blood Bloom and Doom in the deck as, like, hey, hit fatigue. Like, I had Hemet in there as well. So you, like, delete your deck, and then you Blood Bloom Doom, and you, like, fatigue for, like, 7 or 8. And, like, I think all of us just kind of completely overestimated how easy, or I guess underestimated how easy it is to complete that quest.
I mean, people were playing Unlicensed Apothecary for, like, the first week or so, right? And that's just an example of how much people sort of narrowed in on having to build around the reward and build around the quest completion when it's just not what ended up being needed at all. It was just like a perfect complementary piece into the deck.
Yeah. I don't think we need to talk more about Demons. I think we can just say that we all missed it, but I also think that, like, 95% of the people in the WoW format missed the Demon Seed, so I don't feel really bad about us missing that. I don't think very many people were talking about this card to begin with when, like, reveal season was around. I don't know, Roffle, did you hear people talking about it? Because I know I didn't.
Oh yeah, people were terrified. I was trying to be a rational voice to let them know that the format wasn't going to be ruined. Are you serious? like all I heard about was how devastating the Demon Seed was going to be.
Are we talking about this is another instance where Twitch chat was actually right?
Don't tell them that, but yes.
The once in a lifetime thing happened.
Regrettably, yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, it wasn't just, like, the Warlock quest that I feel like we were wrong about, right? We didn't just underestimate the Warlock quest. I mean, I have 4 listed out here. Like, we underestimated the Hunter quest, right? I know we all talked about, like, oh, this will be a fun meme deck. Like, I don't think it's going to be super competitive. We were all wrong. I do remember specifically saying the Warrior quest, I was like, well, you're not going to run this in normal Pirate Warrior because you don't want to start with one less card. No, that's why you can just, like, run this as a win con in Odd Pirate Warrior or Reno Pirate Warrior. Yeah, you just run normal Pirate Warrior, you complete your quest faster, and you just outvalue the freaking slower Warrior decks. So, yeah, we're wrong about that one. Obviously, the Druid quest, we missed that. I mean, Shaman quest got nerfed because of Standard. The Mage quest is seeing play in Standard. Like, I think we were just, like, like, the Demon Hunter quest saw play, and I know we didn't talk, we were about to not talk about it. I know Roffle was like, I want to talk about this because I want to say you'll discount the cards that you're critiquing. Like,
yeah, I made sure that it was included on our show notes just so that I could make a joke about how bad it was.
Yeah. It's nuts, right? Like, every single one of the quests, no matter what, was underestimated. At least by us, obviously Twitch chat nailed it. But I think this is just, like, a very common thing that happens every single time there's new cards that look sort of vaguely familiar, like old cards. Whether it's the Corridor Creeper and Bolvar example, they're, it gets buffed up for each minion that dies, or gets cheaper in that case. Once you sort of start associating a certain design with an old bad card, whether it's like the hand buff Paladin cards as well, that's another big one. I think that people just sort of started thinking about the quests that we'd been seeing and how bad they were in our format. And they kind of missed out on the whole, quest line aspect. All those mini rewards that you get and those little bonuses and just how much of an insane difference that makes. Because, if Rakara was all that you got in Pirate Warrior, I don't really think you necessarily would be playing Rakara or the Pirate quest. Mm-hmm. But you get the Anchor. You get the Anchor draw. You get the little cannon shots there as well. And it just makes such a big difference, overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one of the reason... the excuse, if you will, if you prefer, for why we missed the quest so badly is that we like without being able to play with them, it was impossible to know how quickly you could get them online. In the case of like the Hunter Quest in particular, or even Seedlock, just like how easy the requirements were to reach. Like with with Seedlock, you said it already. You could get Tamsin down on turn 5 and win the game off the back of that. With the Hunter Quest, we kind of underestimated how much. Like we all knew that rapid fire was going in the deck, but then like seeing how rapid fire just churn through the quest line was disgusting once it like actually started happening in the game. And I don't think that that's something that can easily be predicted, because it's like, yeah, you put in the 1 minute spells and then you run out of cards and then the game's over, and you're like, so that's why we were so fixated on the draw package. The other thing we underestimated was how impactful the intermediate steps were. Like you said, the first phase of the warrior quest is draw your best card, and like that's
good.
Yeah, that's kind of silly. Even just like the intermediate stage, the second stage of the Hunter Quest, setting your hero power to 0. Well, like that's just 3 free damage for it until you get the Tavish down, which is still good in Odd Hunter. So like I think we missed that. And then with Druid, we were just way off base because we were just like, well, this is way too fair. What's that gonna do? But like that armor stacks quickly, and I think that's the thing that we missed there. That was kind of a unique case where it's just like, oh, numbers get real big and then the opponent dies. Like, yeah. So I don't know how anyone could have predicted that one, because it just looked so bland. Like we weren't alone with the Druid quest. Druid and Demon Hunter, I have no regrets over missing those, because everybody missed those because they just looked like legitimately unplayable. And we were wrong, though. They weren't. People said the same thing about the Caverns Below. So like I don't know, some things like that with very specific requirements, it's hard to predict how easy those requirements are to meet until you actually start playing the game.
Yeah. I kind of want to ask you guys like a general question. I don't know if this fits here in this episode. Maybe I'll cut it. But how do you guys feel about quest lines in general? So like obviously the Demon Seed got banned, but are you guys happy that they printed them? Like in general, like are you happy that quest lines are a thing? Do you think they make the WoW format a better place? Like I know I've seen this. I'm gonna shout out Martian for this. For if it's a bad take, you guys can flame him too. But he said like once the Demon Seed got banned, like he wouldn't have been opposed to also seeing just like kind of quest lines in general being kind of going under a makeover or being kind of banned in the format. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but they also remind me a lot. I don't know how many you get if you guys went through companions in Magic. I guess Roffle. I don't know if you know about that whole companion shenanigan, but it feels very similar to that, where like the power level and the consistency of them are like way too damn high. I don't know how you guys are feeling about it, but I'm kind of in the boat of Martian. I was like, I wouldn't be opposed to them. Like, I know it's never going to happen because of the WoW format, but I wouldn't be opposed if they kind of like Hall of Famed from Wild, these quest lines. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to those. I don't know how you guys feel.
Yeah, I think that quests, since their inception in Journey to Angoro, have always created a very linear game plan. You play cards to do the thing that your quest says.
He said,
and that's not inherently.
He said the word. He said linear. Oh no.
I know, and I know that's like a hot button Twitter thing, but I don't care. That is the reality of it, right? Like you have specific instructions for what you need to do. You build your deck to do that thing. You play your cards to do that thing, and that's not inherently bad. Linear decks aren't inherently bad. There is an audience for decks of that variety as well. That there are players. That's the reason why. Part of the reason why the expansion of Journey to Angoro is looked upon so fondly is because a lot of people really did like those original quests. The difference, though, is those quests were kind of bad, with a few exceptions. Like some saw some play here and there, but they weren't like meta-defining decks necessarily, with the exception of Quest Rogue and Quest Warrior to some extent. So I think we need to view it similar to how we view disruption, where yes, there's an audience for that, but no, that type of deck shouldn't be almost the entirety, like a substantial portion of the metagame, nor should they be as powerful as some of those quest lines are right now. So I think it's the combination of the linear nature of them and how powerful they are. I think that creates a bad mix where you get a bit of a repetitive metagame as a result of that. And so I think that the problem isn't with quests inherently. I think it's that the quests that we got are a little bit overtuned, especially compared to what previous quests have been in the past. So I think that's my problem with it. I mean, if you just up the requirements on some of those by some amount, they would be a lot more reasonable and a lot less, unfun to play against because they would be less powerful. And I think that's the problem, is that they're just more powerful than, some of the other dex cards that we've had in the past.
Yeah, I think the quests in general probably make WoW less fun. And are a net negative overall for the format. I think that the question though was, how do I feel about quests in general, and do I like them? Do I know it? I think like for what they've done at standard, they've actually been very, very positive, and that's obviously the lens that you generally want to be viewing. Like card design and evaluating how a card is doing is basically how it's doing in standard. Because I really think that, again, this is a wild show, but I think that a lot of the decks that are currently being played right now in standard, built around the quests, are very interesting, and I think they lead to a lot of fun games, high skill cap games, but so I'd say like overall for standards purposes, I think overall they've been a positive, even though they do come with very clear detriments and benefits, right? Like Roffle was talking about, their linear game plan, or the deck building sort of being very focused on this one thing, whereas the positive aspects are, that means the games don't drag on, for example, and the players feel like they have a very clear objective on what they need to be doing, and games don't become fatigue fests and things like that. But yeah, I think in general for Wild, I definitely don't necessarily want to like ban them all, even though I think right now they're probably a negative for the format. I am interested though to see whether these are these Baku and Gen, right? That is the big question, right? Because we have them for this current expansion, but are these going to be these persistent things that are just defining every single metagame for the next 18 months, 2 years, whatever, however long in Wild? And if that becomes the case, then I think it's going to feel really bad eventually.
I feel like they're not. Obviously, we don't know what they're gonna do, right? But they've always shown this hesitancy to not touch things in Wild, right? That's their philosophy, and so I feel like we're in the long haul for Odd Quest Hunter and Quest Warrior.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really nerf them at all, right? So when you're looking at that, you're thinking about either like banning them, or you're talking about like nerfing support pieces in Wild. The weird thing about the quests is just because of how synergistic they are, is that they're not designed to be completed on turn 4 or turn 5, and it's very weird for our format, the fact that they regularly are. Like Tavish and Rakara getting slammed down on turn 5 and 6 is very weird, and not sort of the intention, but there's not really a great way to kind of go about that. In terms of fixing, quote unquote, fixing the problem. Again, quote unquote, problem. I don't even know if it is something that needs fixing right now, but yeah.
I think that like using the lens of Gen and Baku, like it's hard to think about it now, but like we got through Gen and Baku and eventually, just like we got through Secret Mage eventually, right? Like it doesn't feel great at the time, but like there are going to be cards like that in every metagame that we experience. And like, how many even odd decks do we see right now? How many Secret Mages do we see right now? So the things change when new cards get introduced, and very much like Gen and Baku, I could, even if these remain some of the better decks in the format, like I could see them falling off in popularity over time simply because the novelty wears off. Like there was a time when Odd Paladin was arguably the best deck in the format. There was a long history of Pirate Warrior being the best deck in the format, and like they were still, fairly underplayed given their relative power level. So like it's hard to think about that now because like great, I queued into another Pirate Warrior, another Odd Hunter, but like I don't know. There's no reason to be hopeless for the future of the format because new cards got introduced, and I've been seeing a lot of that lately, and it's just like, there's doomers in every expansion. There may be more of them now, and they may be louder now, but like I feel like we just have kind of the same conversation every expansion, and people forget that.
Every expansion ruins Wild. Every expansion is the worst expansion they've ever done. Right? Am I sounding right? It sounds familiar. Yeah. No, I completely agree with all this. Like I just bring it up, right? Because I've seen the conversation, and once I heard the conversation, I was like, I could kind of get behind that. Like I'd be down if they did it. I know they probably won't, but I it does very much remind me of like the companion situation in Magic, where they had to like completely nerf this brand new mechanic, errata in like a few months, and so it reminds me very much of the same reasons why they complained about companion in Magic is the same reason that they're like complaining about Quest in Wild, I guess. Not really standard, like Corbett mentioned, but
A lot of people are pissed off about Quest and Standard, Meowth.
Yeah.
oh, okay, all right. Well,
And, like-
I'm not very tuned into standard, so I don't know. I'm not following all the people that are complaining. I know. I've heard some like rumblings, but I didn't know if it was like a very popular opinion.
And I'm not even dismissing those like criticisms or complaints about that, because like I said, I'm not, super keen on this like expansion or the quest lines themselves, but like I'm also not going to let a few cards ruin my enjoyment of a video game. Like, and if it does, like, I'll just, step away from playing it for whatever period of time that I need. Like, I don't know. I'm going to dislike things about every metagame, no matter what they are. I'm going to dislike some more than others, and the Seed Lock was a great example of that, but I'll still find a way to enjoy the game, even though it's imperfect, because it's always going to be imperfect.
Wise words to live by. It feels kind of weird jumping from Quest to these other cards, but we did miss a lot of other cards, right? When we're talking about kind of some powerful cards from United and Storm, we've been talking a lot about the Quest and the impact they've had on the metagame. But there have been a ton of other really, really strong cards and really strong support pieces for decks that we kind of completely missed, or we underestimated their power. And so I kind of want to touch on some of those to wrap up the episode as well. So I want to start with, we talked a lot about Dark Bishop Benedictus and how it was going to drive these aggro Shadow Priests potentially. We kind of completely overlooked the reason that the deck exists in Void Touch Attendant, right? This card is absolutely bonkers. I'm kind of sad that Shadow Priest, I've been dabbling in Standard. I haven't seen a single Shadow Priest, which means it doesn't look like Void Touch Attendant's getting touched anytime soon. But honestly, that might be a good thing, because it's the reason that Aggro Shadow Priest was good, right? It's fallen off a little bit since Seedlock's been nerfed, but I think it's still a very, very good deck. But yeah, Void Touch Attendant, absolutely bonkers card.
Yeah, I think that, like, even without Benedictus, like, this card would probably make aggro priest a consideration.
We also missed, not really missed, but like this whole Ignite Mage with infinite damage by cycling these Ignites. I think all three of us were just like, this just looks like a worse Mizaki Mage. Why would you ever play this? Turns out when you get to consistently combo a turn or two faster than Mizaki Mage, it makes all the difference in the world. All the accusations of animation skipping and all that kind of stuff aside, right, which we're not going to dive into because it's not worth it. I mean, Ignite Mage is the combo deck, right, for Mage. Oh, no?
I'll happily dive into it.
Oh,
I've been talking about this a lot the past week and a half or so.
I mean, go for it.
Okay. Most of your opponents aren't cheating. They're just dealing damage, and the animations are asynchronous. That's a bad thing because it creates confusion for you as the player, but your opponents are very likely not cheating. There are some very credible examples of people cheating, but they are very rare and not likely happening to you unless you have a boatload of armor. But like the problem is threefold, as I explained it on stream the other day. The cheaters, which are a problem and should be, punished, but like there's likely a handful of them because it's not an easy thing to do. The problem is the asynchronous animations that I mentioned, where things are happening on your screen that have already happened for your opponent. And so it looks as though they're taking longer than they're allowed to, but they're not. It's just the animation's catching up with them. The third thing, and the real key thing, is that Sorcerer's Apprentice exists, and it shouldn't. And that's like, if you just remove that card, you remove the problem, in the same way that, changing the way Echo works fixed the Snip Snap problem. We had the same accusations during the Snip Snap era where people were just like pointing fingers at each other, accusing each other of cheating, when, like, yes, it was happening, but not nearly on the scale that people like to make it out to be. It sucks to lose the game to both of these decks. It sucks to have to wait, an extra 2 minutes to find out that, oh, I was dead this whole time. But your opponent probably isn't cheating.
Yeah, it's a very narrow number of people that are doing this, right? And every single time anyone loses to Ignite Mage, the rope keeps burning because it keeps burning. That's what it does. And then they immediately think that they're being cheated, and they're confused. And there's been a lot of misinformation going on around this very recently that is adding to the confusion, I think. But we'll see if some of that resolves, because I know that Blizzard are aware of what's been going on. And they, not necessarily right now, but they do ban waves for this type of thing. They don't do it like on a schedule necessarily, but they do them. And so we'll see if anything resolves for this. But the important takeaway is, Ignite Mage can do almost, like, it can do upwards of like 50, 60 damage without cheating a lot of the time. It's very rare that someone, like, you don't need to cheat, guys, to get to like 30 or play 30 cards at a turn. Like, that can just happen.
No, I had people in my YouTube comments, first of all, like, psychopathically timestamping, like, for legitimately 3 to 4 hours straight every misplay that I made, explaining what I did wrong. Which, yeah, I made mistakes, but like that was a whole new level of
Jesus
of critique. But I also had other people that were familiar with the deck saying that they could easily do 35 plus damage with a single ignite, which was not possible for me. I realize I'm a boomer, but I was struggling to get to 30 with a single ignite. So, like, on a good, on good hardware with good APM, it's certainly doable to do that scale of damage, unless you're sitting on like 75 armor or something. Like, you cannot reliably say that your opponent is cheated, and I think it's getting a little bit overblown. But back to the issue at hand, Ignite and Chandler created this new deck. But again, the core problem was, and always has been, always will be until it's changed, Sorcerer's Apprentice. If you just change that card, this combination of Ignite and Chandler are not problematic, and nor are any of the APM versions of Mage deck. So, like, it's just Sorcerer's Apprentice. It's always been. It always will be, and please change this card.
So you mentioned good hardware. So first of all, Corbett needs a new toaster. Just charity drive.
I just had a new gaming chair, Meowth. I got this.
Twitch.tv/Corbettgames. Help him fund a new toaster so that he comes back to WoW to play some more APM Mage. I'm sorry, I had to do that. But also, like, insert rant about accessibility and, like, include toaster about competitive deck, blah, blah, blah.
We had this. Like, I have a decent machine. Like, my monitor isn't great, which apparently the refresh rate is probably one of the limiting factors. But, like, I have, I stream, I edit videos. Like, I have pretty decent hardware. It shouldn't be a limiting factor for me. And, like, I legitimately felt like I couldn't grab the card in time to, like, make 30 damage happen reliably with a single ignite. So, like, if I'm struggling, like, people with on their phones are certainly not gonna have a manageable time with it. So yeah, we had this discussion already though. So yeah.
The deck exists. It's got a place in the metagame, right? I don't really know what it's beating outside of just like, hey, I can beat any deck by turn 5, or I can lose to any deck by turn 5, right? Who knows? I'm not really too familiar with the deck myself because I don't play it, because I'm a boomer and I have a vendetta against Sorcerer's Apprentice anyways. But yeah, I mean, it has a place in the metagame. People love these sorts of decks, right? As much crap as we give it, as much as people call for cheating on Twitter when they shouldn't, People love the deck, and people always play styles of these decks. So like, I'm glad it exists. I'm just not glad that it's like as strong as it is, right? And especially now that people are running like the minion dense version, like God, you can't even rat to disrupt their combo, and it's so frustrating. Like Roffle, you were crapping on Nerubian Unravelers. I will never cut Nerubian Unravelers from my deck because it beats Ignite Mage, and I will take my like minus 20% in other matchups as long as I beat Ignite Mage, because fuck that deck. So sorry for my language, but also fuck that deck. So but yeah, I mean, I'm not shaming you if you guys enjoy the deck, but also I like, it has a place, and I'm happy that you enjoy it if you enjoy it. But also let's move on before we I will also say they have mentioned, I think I've talked about this every time we talk about Ignite Mage, Ixar has like publicly said that like Sorcerer's Apprentice is on their radar as a card that's always like
They've been saying that for a while. I'm not normally one to beat that horse, but they've been saying that for a period of time. Like I'm losing hope on this one. Even I am.
Santa's not real? Is that what I'm being told here?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see if they ever do anything. I doubt they will, but maybe that's their answer to like this whole waves of claims of cheating, even if people are not. Maybe their answer to that is to nerf Sorcerer's Apprentice. Fingers crossed.
Oh my sweet Meowth.
Hey, dude, we were on that copium about a bunch of other
optimistic.
stuff. This is the next thing that we have to move on to. Maybe one day they will nerf Sorcerer's Apprentice. We got this. All right, let's talk about a whole nother like set of cards, though. Kind of the last set of cards that we kind of completely underestimated. I had this as some of my favorite decks to play, right? This whole package of even lock cards, right? We had Anatheron, we had Goldshire Null, we had Pack Mule. You can lump Entitled Customer in there if you really, really want to. You can lump Nerfed Battlemaster in this if you want to. This whole package of cards that Evenlock got that like suddenly boosted it from a tier 4 deck to like a top tier deck, right? Because Anatheron, Goldshire Null, Pack Mule are like absolutely bonkers cards. They're really, really good. People realizing that Soul Rend is like probably a playable card. Pretty good, right? So this whole package of cards, I think none of us really had any of these cards. I had Entitled Customer, but that was kind of not really looking at Evenlock. But yeah, really, really good cards. Really, really big boost to Evenlock, and I don't know, there's something fair, I feel like, about Evenlock compared to all these other decks that spam giants early on in the game. I don't know what it is, but something
It's not
feels
fair, but it's not fair, but like I don't know, it feels more fair in the same way that like even when it was the best deck in the format, even Shaman felt fair to play against because it just like it did a rather predictable thing, I guess. But it also won primarily with minion damage, which in a game like Hearthstone feels fair even when it's not. Which Evenlock is certainly not, because 1 mana Anatheron and 1 mana even Goldshire Null is not a fair thing. But like the interaction between those 3 cards, I think, is really kind of cool with Anatheron, Goldshire Null, Pack Mule. Like the combination of Pack Mule and Goldshire Null even enabled like Hand Mage as a fringe archetype that's like actually legitimate. Like I played this early on, and like I just saw an opponent do fun things against me, and I'm like, I want to do that, so I built a deck, and then like people actually started refining it and getting good legend lists with similar builds, and it's just kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, we all noticed, I think, just how many cards Evenlock got. It just sort of felt like it wouldn't matter very much. At least that was what I sort of remember doing, like theory crafting. Kind of looked at it and like, whoa, that's like 12 new cards. Nice tier 4 deck. And it's like moved on. But yeah, overall it's great. I'm very happy that Evenlock's back. After it had a lengthy, a lengthy time away sort of from the meta. I remember when it was the best deck in the format back in, God, when was this? It was like
I
the
think
first.
it was Witchwood, right? Or like soon after.
Yeah, it was
Witchwood.
like the year of Witchwood. So what was that, like Rusticon's Rumble, Boomsday? Like around that era, Evenlock was maybe the best wild deck, and it took a long time to come back. But yeah, turns out, 8/8s on turn 3, quite good in Wild Hearthstone.
I love Evenlock. So like even if it's a super unfair deck, I'm gonna take this time to actually enjoy playing the top tier decks for once, and so
Yeah,
nothing bad. To
I
say.
love Reno. I love Reno Evenlock. It's probably like if I was playing Wild a bit more actively right now, that was the deck that I enjoyed the most. Right now, Reno Even. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I know. Did you still have that clip of what was it 3 years ago where you were like, one day Reno Evenlock will be the tier 1 deck. Just you wait, and here we are.
Yeah, I used to say that all the time on like Discords and stuff because my whole idea was like Highlander cards are busted and Gen is busted, and then eventually there'll be so much synergy that you'll just want both the Highlander cards and the hero power. Even Reno Lock is going to be the best deck of the format in 18 months, and I might have said that like 36 months ago. But it was just much like Roffle is ahead of the meta. I also far ahead of my time.
Well, I'm sitting here apparently as the lone, just pure Evenlock truther, trying to convince you guys that like, why are you putting cards that you pay more than 6 mana for that aren't ending the game? Like, what is wrong with you?
Hey man,
you
Reno
make
ends the
big
game on turn 6. Okay.
Evenlock is not a control deck. Stop trying to make it a control deck. You smack people in the face with it.
I haven't had the ability to play Highlander cards because of Seedlock. So I will take this opportunity to play my yellow cards, and I will be happy about it, even if it's not the best way to play it. All right? I'm going to do it, and you can't stop me.
Fine.
Yeah, I was just thinking, though, you want to talk about smacking the face. I mean, that's a perfect transition to the last card. Battlemaster.
Yeah.
Which we didn't touch on. So Battlemaster, the original 5-mana 5/5, another card that we weren't super high on, but had to get nerfed because it was so busted. And it seems like it's making an even bigger impact in Wild now that it got nerfed than before, which is pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean,
it was in play before, just not like in a tier 1 deck like it is now.
Right.
Like it is a necessary component for what made Evenlock jump in terms of its power level, because like it just shuts out the game. Like, it's good.
Yeah. I think when it initially was revealed, I think our initial impressions were like, it's either going to be Omega busted or it's going to be super win more and it's going to like not be worth running. Turns out that it's super Omega busted. I think it's even stronger now that it's 6 mana compared to 5 because you get to run it in Evenlock now. And it, like, Evenlock for the longest time has been missing a way to end games, right? Like, you have this 8/8 and you get to play another 8/8. But if they deal with those 8/8s, you can't win the game. Now you have Battlemaster where, like, the moment they leave one giant on the board, you're kind of, like, in lethal range because of Battlemaster, which is, like, I think it's the reason that Evenlock is good. Like, I know Evenlock got, like, 12 new cards. I know we were just talking about Anatheron, Null, Pack Mule. I don't think we would be talking about Evenlock as a tier 1 deck if we didn't nerf Battlemaster to 6 mana. Just because, like, that's how powerful it is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And about everything that you just said, except for the part where, you talked about us discussing it either being a busted card or a big flop. I was of the mindset that this card was not going to be relevant at all. So don't lump me in with you. I was completely off base with this. I was like, why'd you care about Wind Fury and things? Just make one big minion. That's enough. You don't need to attack twice with it. Like, you have to stick these big minions. If you stick big minion, you already won. Like, it's just bloodlust. And I was wrong.
It's okay. It's all right. I think I was in the boat of, I think it's going to be a flop. Like, that's what I was leaning towards too. Like, I was excited about this in hand buff Paladin, not like any other deck. I'm on the hand buff Paladin trade, man. For some reason, I'm infatuated with Paladin recently, and I was like, that's all I was thinking about was Battlemaster in hand buff Paladin. Super excited.
I probably did like skip over a little bit too much just how nuts this was in Darklair, like in the Seed block with the Moltons and the Flesh. Kind of good with those cards. This is one that we found out like very recently that it did get one of the last buffs. Like, they had it at 6 mana for the longest time, and then they gave it a little bit of a nudge to put it to 5. And so even the devs, it seems like they weren't 100% sure. Although even at 6 mana, like we're saying, still really, really good card, and, has a home. I was very surprised as well, just to mention the buffs and the late balance decisions as well. If we found out that the Warrior Quest, just before I forget, the Warrior Quest was also going to be 2 pirates on the first part. That was very, very late. That might have been the last change they said that they did.
Imagine where you're like consistently having Anchor on turn 3. Like, you have Corsair Cash in your opening hand every game. Oh god.
Wait, imagine going quest and they have the deckhand coin anchor.
On turn 2. Oh god, I
Yeah.
don't want to. No, why?
Yep.
Thank you for nerfing that before we released it, but also can we nerf it again? No, you're right. That's kind of insane. Imagining that at 2 mana. That's gross.
Yeah. I love those little tidbits that they give though when it comes to these like final balance decisions,
Yeah.
like what we could have had. I think it's really interesting just showing where their head was at and, you know, just imagining what the world could have been like if we, you know, if Pirate Warrior was actually good, imagine.
Oh, if it was actually good, yeah, imagine.
Yeah, if it was actually good. Yeah.
All right, that's gonna wrap up our review of our United and Stormwind reviews. Honestly, kind of fun going down and seeing how right we were, and also kind of how drastically wrong we were about a lot of cards. It's always fun to do this. Normally, we save it for the very, very end, but while we're in this kind of holding pattern for new cards and new sets and all that kind of stuff, I thought it would be fun to talk about, and hopefully, you guys listening enjoyed it as well. Roffle and Corbett, thank you for embarrassing yourselves alongside me. It's always nice not being the only one being laughed at. I appreciate you guys. Let the people know where they can find you guys.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RoffleHS and on Twitch and YouTube at Roffle.
And you can find me streaming from my toaster at Corbettgames on Twitch, and also find me at Corbettgames on Twitter and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So thanks, guys.
You can find me at GetMeOut on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube as well. And of course, if you guys want to listen to the podcast on the go, don't forget that we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that kind of good stuff. Appreciate all of you guys listening towards the end. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we will see you guys again next week. Later.